What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to a brand new episode of Caffeinate today for January the 9th of 2019. My name is Samuel Adams, and welcome to today's show. I hope that this one finds you well, and for those that are brand new to the show, this is a daily gaming news podcast where I bring you the hottest gaming news 5 days a week. Those are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, because college schedules can surely mess up a podcast, but that's a video for another day. Welcome if you are new, and I hope you do enjoy the content that you do see here, because I love making the podcast, and there's always something big to talk about in the world of gaming, and it's the best part of my day, without a single doubt. Now, the question is, what are we going to be talking about on today's show? First off, our headliner, The Division 2, is skipping Steam and going directly to the Epic Games Store along with, as you would expect, Uplay, and so we will talk more about that. On top of that, buyers are circling GameStop as the retailer continues its struggle to stay afloat. FoxNext has confirmed an Alien MMO shooter game, and there is more coming soon, so we'll talk about that announcement and what that could mean for the entire Alien franchise. PUBG and FIFA are the top-selling PS4 games on the PlayStation Store in December. We'll break down December's biggest numbers for the PlayStation 4, which is always a good time if you are a numbers guy like me. Destiny 2 has been having some fun over the past few days because fans and players have been trying to figure out this big new puzzle that remains unsolved, although the reward has been given out. And so we'll kind of talk about all of that and how that is being broken down, because there's an award that's being given for something that hasn't been earned, and a lot of the community is kind of torn both ways, and we'll talk more about where that is going. Now, for those that are Candy Crush players, of which my mother is one, they have spent nearly $4.2 million per day in 2018. Mom, however, wants to make it very clear she has not purchased a single thing. So good on her. But we will talk more about that. The old Fallout games are now free for Fallout 76 players. There is a brand new AMD card that is competing with the 2080 over there on the Nvidia side of things, and Nintendo has revealed the Switch Online January games, which include The Legend of Zelda 2 and Blaster Master, and so we'll talk more about that. Now, to Dragon New Light in the chat, welcome on in, and if you want to join the chat live while we record, it's a reward for you. I recorded on twitch.tv/TheSamuelAdams. You can join live again 5 nights a week over on twitch.tv if you did feel like watching the show live. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the news of the day. The Division 2 is coming to the Epic Games Store, and it is skipping Steam. Ubisoft will also sell the PC version of the game through its online store, otherwise known as Uplay. Ubisoft and Epic Games are teaming up to bring the publisher's PC games, including Tom Clancy's The Division 2, to the Epic Games Store. The Division 2 will be semi-exclusive to the Epic Games Store on Windows PC. Ubisoft will also sell the PC version through its own online storefront, but The Division 2 won't be released through Steam, which previously featured a product page for the game. A representative for Ubisoft told Polygon via email, "We have no plans currently on releasing Tom Clancy's The Division 2 on Steam." Ubisoft and Epic said they will also partner on additional select titles coming to Epic Games Store to be announced during the coming year. Ubisoft also said it had plans to fulfill pre-orders for The Division 2 made at either online stores prior to the game's launch on March the 15th. The addition of Ubisoft titles for Epic's recently launched game store is a feather in the Fortnite and Unreal Engine makers' cap. Epic has already struck a few exclusive deals with smaller developers to bring their games exclusively to the Epic Games Store, such as Supergiant's Hades and the final episodes of the Telltale Games Walking Dead, the final season, but wooing Ubisoft away from Steam to Epic's Store is further evidence that the PC marketplace is becoming more like a console war for exclusive content deals. And by a console war, they mean between, Steam and other kinds of online marketplaces / storefronts. So, quote, "We entrust Epic to deliver a smooth journey for our fans, from pre-ordering the game and enjoying our beta to the launch of Tom Clancy's The Division 2 on March the 15th, Ubisoft's Chris Early, Vice President of Partnerships, said in a press release. Epic continues to disrupt the video game industry, and their third-party digital distribution model is the latest example and something Ubisoft wants to support. Epic launched its digital game store in December, touting a few favorable royalty rate kind of things for developers, which essentially means that 88% of the revenue will go to devs, with Epic Games taking the remaining 12%. Steam's revenue split, meanwhile, starts with 30% of the revenue going to Valve. As games make more money on Steam, the revenue split increases in the devs' favor, but it still doesn't match what Epic is offering. And while Valve provides broader, more mature tools and services to developers on Steam, it is clear that Epic's attempt to undercut Valve is more attractive to some game makers. So in addition to PC, Tom Clancy's The Division 2 is also, of course, coming to the PS4 and the Xbox One. Now, Dragon Newlight in the chat says Steam is the best game platform in my opinion. That's up for debate, because I will say that if they can inject themselves into the next generation of PC gamers, then Epic is currently setting themselves up for a win in the long game. That's pretty much the way that I see it. Now, with The Division 2, this was kind of a shocker because the Steam page had already been established. So obviously this is a new kind of conversation, a new kind of deliberation going on for the Epic Games side of things, talking with those at Ubisoft, and it's kind of shocking to see them backpedal like this. You would kind of expect that the game would come out on Steam just because it was already up there to begin with. But I digress. Now, in regards to Steam being the best place to play PC games, that's how it is for people like us. That's how it is for people that have been in the PC gaming space for a while. And I've talked about this before on previous episodes of the podcast, what Fortnite has achieved is that a brand new generation of gamers and also a brand new group of people that might not have previously been into the gaming industry are now constantly playing on their PCs. And so to be able to put these games in front of people and say, hey, here's a new game, put it up alongside Fortnite, that you can purchase and play in the exact same launcher that you play Fortnite, which you play every day anyway, that's a very enticing kind of draw for a lot of people that might not even have Steam installed. Now, is it going to be tapping into the core audience that already exists? No, obviously, because those that play on Steam like to have a unified library if they can, and I'm one of those people. But the Epic Games storefront is shaping up to be a big contender going forward to kind of not necessarily dethrone Steam, but without a doubt compete with them. So we'll see where the future goes for launchers whenever it comes to PC gaming, but as for right now, The Division 2 is going to be skipping Steam and coming directly to the Epic Games Store, or if you are one of those people that uses Uplay, you can get it there as well. Hopefully there is going to be some kind of syncing, maybe some cross-platform play between various versions of The Division 2, but again, that's all a conversation for the future. Today, we just know they are skipping Steam entirely. But some people might be skipping buying games from GameStop in the future because they could not exist. Buyers are circling GameStop as the retailer continues to struggle. Could emulating games belong arenas help turn around the company's fortunes, or is it too late to pivot? The author asked over at gamesindustry.biz. Private equity firms Apollo Global Management and Sycamore Partners are reportedly bidding to acquire GameStop. That's according to a report in the Wall Street Journal, which said that a deal could be closed by mid-February. Speculation abounds that Sycamore Partners could be looking to buy the ailing retailer, but when a deal failed to materialize in August last year, its share price took a 9.9% hit. Wedbush Securities analyst Michael Patcher told the Wall Street Journal that GameStop needs to reduce its $817 million debt, close stores, and go private. Quote, they've lost the interest of investors, and being public causes them to do things they might not otherwise do, like try to diversify revenue, he said. Since 2015, GameStop has lost 67.45% of its market value, and although decline has slowed since then, it still moves steadily downwards. While the company's share price is actually up 20.96% this year, it closed out 2018 down 36.7% from a January peak. Speaking with GamesIndustry.biz at E3 last year, Vice President of Merchandising Eric Bright said the retailer was looking forward to an incredible Q4. However, according to Patcher's analysis, GameStop will post comparable sales to the year prior when it reveals figures later on this month. Baird analyst Colin Sebastian suggested that refocusing on esports could help turn around the retailer's dire situation. Their strength is in their loyal customer, he told the Wall Street Journal. They're in a challenging spot, but they have for now retained the vast majority of their customers. That window is not going to be open forever. It's an idea that has already taken off in the UK, with both Game and Curry's PC World moving into the space. Although a very new venture for the latter, Game first launched the idea back in 2016 with its Belong Arenas and now has 20 locations. Despite its attempts to tap esports, the latest annual financial report for Game showed stagnant revenue and a slight dip in profit. According to CEO Martin Gibbs, game stores that feature Belong Arenas have seen a marked increase in retail performance, however. And so you could go on to kind of talk more about where this is all going, but right now, GameStop is in a weird situation because it very well could be purchased by the end of February, as the article did say. And this is something that has been kind of in the cards for a while now. With the growth of digital as a way that people purchase games, GameStop, quite frankly, hasn't been able to keep up. Of course, we have seen digital sales for games increase year over year, and even in my own kind of trends of how I get games, if I know that I'm not going to be getting rid of a game, or if I know that it's something that I'm going to be playing for a very long time before I get bored, I will, without a doubt, get it digitally. Or sometimes, if I choose to get a game on day one, I might just go ahead and bite the bullet and go straight for the digital because of ease of access. For instance, last year around, I think it was October whenever it launched, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 came out, and I wasn't originally going to get that game on day one. But after seeing some reviews, after watching some gameplay, after seeing Blackout and all that good stuff, I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and go in on it. So I spent $60 on the PlayStation Network, and I had it downloaded right there at midnight without having to go out to a GameStop or without having to stop by a Target on the way home the next day. I was able to just have it there in front of me, and it's that kind of ease of access that makes that kind of experience ever more enticing. Now, as I said, this isn't the case for everything, and I suppose that's why GameStop is still continuing to do fairly well, is because they do have that resale value of some of their games. For instance, I purchased Red Dead Redemption 2 in a physical format because once I finish that story and once I kind of mess around over the next few weeks and go back to it and see what the side missions do entail, I'll probably get rid of it because I have no desire to play Red Dead Online, and so I can get back between 35 and 40 of my dollars, depending on when I trade it, and therefore I'm only at 20 bucks, and I got to experience one of 2018's biggest hits. And that's kind of where I see GameStop still maintaining a space in the gaming, I guess, revenue / market industry, whatever you want to call it. They're still going to be around because they do buy back your games, and it's a good way to have a physical kind of tangible game instead of just having something that is yours, but you can't really hold it, see it, feel it, put the disc in your PlayStation, Xbox, whatever it might be. Again, that is just my opinion, but as more people circle to buy the actual struggling retailer, what does the future of it look like? You know, is GameStop going to be around in 2, 3, 5 years, whatever it might be? I think they're going to be around for a while because they are such a large part of gaming culture. GameStop has always been around for me. It's been something that has been in the neighborhood since I was literally born. I mean, I started playing games when I was 3, and I remember going to GameStops as early as 4 and 5 years old. So I don't think they're going anywhere. I just think that somebody is going to purchase them, make them private, and then reap the profit and the benefit of making them private instead of being traded on the market. But that's all a topic for another day. What you need to know is the GameStop still is sucking to some degree. So go buy some pop vinyls if you really want to get that GameStop love, or buy a t-shirt, whatever you want to do. But you could be buying an Alien MMO because there's one coming very soon with some announcements to come. FoxNext revealed yesterday that a follow-up to Alien Isolation is indeed coming this year. However, that turned out to be a mobile game for iOS and Android devices, which we talked about on yesterday's show, and it certainly didn't fire up hype in a lot of folks who were expecting to get another AAA console and PC experience. However, FoxNext did provide bits of hope. First of all, they clarified both via Twitter and via the press release that there is more coming than just Alien Blackout when it comes to Amanda Ripley's story. This is where we all go, ooh, because that's good. So, this year, fans of the critically acclaimed Alien Isolation video game are invited to embark on new adventures with Ellen Ripley's daughter, Amanda, by watching, playing, and reading her story as she renews her fight against the aliens after the events of Isolation. 20th Century Fox will partner with a wide range of storytellers and innovators to bring this epic chapter in the Alien universe to life, with even more entries in Amanda Ripley's story soon to be announced. Last but not least, the press release ended with a mention of the Alien game announced about a year ago to be in development at Cold Iron Studios, a team composed primarily of former Cryptic Studios developers, and the tidbit confirms this will be an Alien MMO shooter game. And I quote, FoxNext Games studio, Cold Iron Studios, is currently also at work on a massively multiplayer online shooter set in the Alien cinematic universe for consoles and PC. As much as this isn't surprising considering the previous background of the dev team, it is honestly a bit hard to picture how that would work in the context of the Alien IP. Still, it might not be that long before we hear anything concrete about this Alien MMO shooter, and Cold Iron Studios was founded in 2015, which means they might have had enough time to work on the project, so we will all stay tuned. Now, this is a pretty big deal. Now, when it comes to that last part of this article, how would you do an Alien MMO? It depends on your definition of an MMO. If you think about it in a broad kind of way, where it is a massively multiplayer online shooter, you could look at stuff like Warframe. Now, in my opinion, that's an MMO. I don't know what. Let's Google it. Is Warframe an MMO? We have. It does not, but they have the category. I'm not even sure. It depends on what you look like. But essentially, that's kind of where I could see the Alien franchise going if they were to go in an MMO kind of trend, where you go and you just do different kinds of errands in this big world where you pretty much go and you clean out the alien scum, or whatever you want to call it. So it's not going to have that kind of horror vibe if I had to guess. Of course, there is still going to be a lot of scary kind of elements mixed in there, but it would be interesting to see how a dev team went to go work on that specific type of project. And again, if you have any kind of ideas, drop them in the chat or in the comment section down below if you are watching on YouTube, or if you're a podcast listener, then by all means hit me up on Twitter. I would love to hear what you think. But it's good to hear that we are not just getting the mobile game, because as much as mobile games are, I suppose, catering to a larger audience, people still want to see a true-to-life Alien game. I mean, you can't get away from that. People love that type of experience. So we'll see what happens. You know, we'll see how Alien does begin to kind of shape out over the course of 2019. But hey, big things in the works. Could be a good year. Could also be a solid turd with chunks of corn. Who knows? But again, coming in 2019, some news regarding the next Alien game. But if you're into games that are already out, now we know what was most popular in December, because we have the best-selling titles on the PS4 for the month of December 2018. PUBG and FIFA 19 were the most downloaded games on the PlayStation Store in December, followed by Call of Duty Black Ops 4 and Battlefield 5. Sony has provided a list of its best-selling titles on the PlayStation Store for December. The charts for Europe and North America are not mirrored as much as this time out, but both saw PUBG doing well on the PS4. FIFA 19 was king in Europe during December, while PUBG claimed the top slot in North America. It debuted in second place on the European charts. Now, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 took second in North America, and Battlefield 5 took the third slot in Europe. Spider-Man and Red Dead Redemption 2 remain in the top 10 on both ends. And so, the best-selling games, the top 10 anyway, on the PS4 for both regions are as follows. Now, for Europe, the top 5 are FIFA 19, PUBG, Battlefield 5, Black Ops 4, and Grand Theft Auto 5. Interesting. Now, 6 through 10 include God of War, Red Dead Redemption 2, Marvel Spider-Man, The Forest, and The Sims 4. If I remember correctly, Grand Theft Auto 5 saw a significant sale during the month of December. I have seen it for as low as $15, which I think is where it is right now. So that could kind of explain why the game is getting so much publicity this far after its release. But again, it is Grand Theft Auto 5, which is still an incredible force in the gaming industry. Now, when it comes to North America, the top 5 are PUBG, Black Ops 4, Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Battlefield 5, sliding in there at number 5. And 6 through 10 include FIFA 19, Mortal Kombat XL, Marvel Spider-Man, NBA 2K19, and Madden NFL 19. For those that are interested in sports, hanging in there at the top 10, but still 9 and 10. The big shocker here for me is that Mortal Kombat XL sneaks in there at number 7. I don't know if that has to do with the announcement of a brand new Mortal Kombat, or the fact that that one was probably on sale as well. But still, significant differences between Europe and North America, but all quality games, if I did have to say so myself. Now, for those that have not tried it, Battlefield 5 is without a doubt worthy of being in the top 10. Shocked, actually, to see it in the top 10, considering that it's had some interesting launch publicity. It hasn't been bad, but the game has not been talked about nearly as much as I thought that it would, and that's definitely hurt it in the long run, and it's going to be interesting to see how the lifespan of Battlefield 5 does kind of shape up. But again, quality game, and overall, pretty solid year of 2018 for video games. But the month of December, obviously, people were making some good choices, except for PUBG on the PS4, which, again, of course, it did make its debut, but still, console PUBG, come on, guys. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. It's okay. It's all right. I've heard it launched better than the Xbox One version, which, thank God, because that was an abysmal pile of hot garbage. But Speaking of a game that has made a bit of a redemption, Destiny 2. There is a brand new forge and it's now open, but the puzzle remains unsolved, and this is a very interesting story because whenever it comes to my Twitch viewing habits, for some reason, somehow, the majority of the people that I watch are Destiny 2 streamers. Now, some of them branch off and have Sea of Thieves content, some of them branch off and try other things, but overwhelmingly, a lot of what I watch on Twitch is Destiny 2. I don't even play the game, but I watch a lot of it. And so I saw this brand new puzzle that came out, and nobody could figure it out. And so this is pretty much a follow-up to the Niobe Labs puzzle, or it could be Niobe Labs. Again, I don't play the game. I am what I am, a dirty heathen. But the update is as follows. The community has failed to solve the puzzle by the deadline, and so Bungie has opened the doors to all. Not everyone is happy about it based on the replies to the tweet, but the puzzle remains available for those determined to take on the challenge, and anyone who manages to solve it will earn a unique ghost and emblem to signify their accomplishment. And so we have the original story. If your idea of high-quality ASMR content is listening to young men who haven't slept in more than a day slowly lose their minds while muttering Lotus, Missive, Butterfly as they shoot strange symbols, you should head for the D2 Twitch directory right now. That's where you'll find a dwindling band of heroic/deranged streamers who have been trying to beat the game's new Niobe Labs activity. Billed as a community event by Bungie, Niobe Labs is a mixture of esoteric puzzles interspersed, I can read, I promise, with in-game difficulty gunplay. So far, players have reached Wave 7, with the optimistic consensus being that this one might be the last, given Bungie's fondness for that number. Currently, there are more than 20,000 people watching Glad's attempts to beat Niobe, all of which have vested interest in his success because once someone does overcome Niobe, a new Forge activity will be opened up for all players. Ooh. It is also expected that the next stage of the Mystery Box quest will be triggered, which it's assumed will ultimately lead to one of the 2 exotic weapons that are part of the current Black Armory expansion, but that have not been found yet. And so that's pretty much where the entire story left off. So essentially, big kind of contest to see who could solve this puzzle first, and once it was solved, this giant event got opened up to all of Destiny 2. Overall, that sounds fantastic. That's kind of like a Ready Player One, almost like a Wonka golden ticket style of event, and I love that kind of idea. And to be quite honest with you, when it comes to how this is kind of split up, you know, who is taking the side of Bungie and who is taking the side of those that still wanted to grind, I would say that I kind of take the side of those that still wanted to grind, because as much as I have no vested interest in this, I'm not going to ever play Destiny 2, to be quite honest with you, it's still this cool concept of achieving something, of being able to go out and say, hey, you know, we solved this puzzle, so we got the Forge. Now, do I get why they ended up releasing it and just allowing anybody to go and try the puzzle? Sure, I totally understand that. But do I wish they had done it a little bit differently? Absolutely. So again, if you did want to dive in, you can check out the newest Forge, which is open right now. It opened at 5 p.m. Eastern Time today, so it's been up for about 2.5 hours, give or take. And you can check it out right now, or you can be a true legend and try and solve that puzzle if you were into that. But speaking of puzzles, Candy Crush players spent nearly $4.2 million per day in 2018, according to a market analyst. King's popular Candy Crush series made over $1.5 billion in 2018, with players spending an average of nearly $4.2 million per day on the Google Play and Apple App stores, according to market and intelligence company Sensor Tower. Candy Crush Saga, the oldest game in the series, accounted for 63%, nearly $945 million of the spending, Sensor Tower said. It first launched in 2012 and apparently still has a strong and dedicated player base. Its revenue was up 10% as compared to 2017, and it is the most downloaded game of all time on iOS, according to mobile app analytics firm App Annie. Meanwhile, Candy Crush Soda Saga accounted for about 29% of the total spending, and it grossed about $443 million last year. And of course, Jelly Saga, of course, my favorite. I have no interest in any of these games, which celebrated its 3rd anniversary in August, made an estimated $90 million, and represented 6% of the franchise's revenue in 2018. Now, Candy Crush Friends Saga, apparently there's even more, surpassed $3 million in player spending, even though it launched in October, according to Sensor Tower. It was reportedly the 2nd most downloaded game in the series last year, with more than 30 million installs. And of course, if you did want to dive in, it is a match 3 puzzle game, and you can try it out if you wanted. It is free to play, and there are tons of microtransactions that you can get if you did want to contribute to the fund of, again, nearly $4.2 million per day during 2018. I need a sip of coffee for that one because, man, But I digress. If you are interested in creating an app, this is the ninja of apps. This is the mind-bogglingly high amount of money that is possible whenever you create a good mobile game. Because, to be quite honest with you, this game is what a lot of adults play whenever they are killing time at work, whenever they are waking up in the morning with a cup of coffee, whenever they are taking a dump, whatever they might be doing. A lot of people go directly to Candy Crush because it's a very easy game, and it's also a game that is engaging. And it's also a game that is kind of, I guess, easy to use when it comes to microtransactions. It's easy to go ahead and spend a couple of bucks here and there and go ahead and level up more and more and go through the ranks. And I understand where people are coming from with that, and it's very difficult when you are tempted with an ease of access to the higher counts. And of course, when you see your Facebook friend, John, surpassing you by 20 levels, well, guess what? You pump 10 bucks into that and boom, you're good to go. But I digress. I'm curious, though, if there were a further breakdown of this giant $4.2 million per day, how much of that consists of whales, the players that do go in and spend thousands of dollars that are addicted to the game? How many, dollars does that make up out of that $4.2 million? But again, that is, I suppose, an analyst job, not my own. Still curious, though. But if you were ever curious as to how much money Candy Crush is making, it is, haha, Candy Crushing it. Oh, I did that. But moving on to the next story of the day, the old Fallout games are now free for Fallout 76 players. If you played Fallout 76 in 2018, you can get Fallout, Fallout 2, and Fallout Tactics for free on Bethesda's launcher if you're into the classic style of Fallout. Bethesda is preparing 2 new patches for Fallout 76 this month, with the first due to arrive on January the 14th. Although details are a bit sparse on what these patches will contain, mostly bug fixes and squashed exploits, according to this week's Inside the Vault post, there is some Fallout goodness you can access right now. If you played the game in 2018, the full release, that is, not just the beta, you can fire up the Bethesda launcher today and get Fallout, Fallout 2, and Tactics Brotherhood of Steel all for free. The big price of a goose egg. The Fallout Classics collection being free for 2018's Fallout 76 players was first announced in December, but the games are available now, and so to download them, you do the following. You download and you run the Bethesda launcher for PC. You sign in to Bethesda.net with your account credentials, and you install the Fallout Classic collection titles from the games menu. So if you did want to dive in, again, these games are very different as compared to Fallout 3 and beyond. Not the same style of game whatsoever, but still something that a ton of people have some nostalgia for, and I know that they definitely are trying to pedal and almost backpedal in a way to give a little bit of a positive PR to Fallout 76 and to Fallout and to Bethesda. It's been a rough 6 months for Bethesda games, without a doubt. But if you were interested in diving in and checking out these Fallout games for free, then by all means, you can check them out right now if you did own Fallout 76 and you did play in 2018. Does that scratch your itch? Does that quell the thirst that you have for Fallout? Who really knows? But if you did want to run these games on a brand new graphics card, AMD has you hooked up because they have the Radeon 7 with 16 gigabytes of VRAM at CES 2019, and Nvidia finally has some competition. Now, AMD has announced its second-generation Vega graphics card, the Radeon 7. This is the first 7nm graphics card on the market and the long-awaited answer to Nvidia's high-end 10 series and 20 series cards. Compared to AMD's previous top card, the Vega 64, the Radeon 7 should offer between 25 to 40% higher frame rates at 4K resolution and max settings. Generally, AMD is promising that Radeon 7 will offer slightly better frame rates than the RTX 2080 and DirectX 11 and DirectX 12 titles, and significantly higher performance for games that support Vulkan. So, to those that have no idea what I just said, this is a good card. A genuinely good card. It's good to know. But Radeon 7 graphics cards should also incorporate a staggering amount of memory. The model shown on stage includes 16 gigabytes of HBM2 memory with 1 terabyte per second of memory bandwidth. In comparison, this is where it gets good. The RTX 2080 sports just 8 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory and a bandwidth of 448 gigabytes per second, while Nvidia's top-end RTX 2080 Ti moves up to 11 gigabytes with a bandwidth of 616 gigabytes per second. So basically doubling the bandwidth and also adding about 5 more gigabytes of VRAM there. That's a big boost to those, again, that don't know what I'm saying. But despite the substantial increase in performance of the last gen Vega cards, AMD promises power usage remains in the same ballpark, a good thing given that NVIDIA has long enjoyed an advantage against AMD in power efficiency and thermals. It looks like the new card's 7nm process may have allowed AMD to remap, perhaps, some efficiency rewards. It also helped by a triple fan design and what looks to be a substantial chassis with two 8-pin PCIe power connectors. And so, content creation is a focus for the new graphics card, with AMD's slide showing at least 25% performance lifts in programs like Blender, DaVinci Resolve, and Adobe Premiere. This means that the Radeon 7 is going to be a big deal, and it's going on sale February the 7th for $700 in the United States. And each card will come with Devil May Cry 5, Resident Evil 2, and The Division 2. So you get three $60 games on top of the card itself for around $700, if I am understanding that correctly. Now, I will, without a doubt, say that AMD is making some big steps forward. Now, that's coming from somebody that has two PCs that both run NVIDIA cards. I have a GTX 970 in my old PC that I now use for streaming, and then I have a GTX 1070 Ti in the new gaming PC that I built last year. Now, NVIDIA announced some pretty awesome products at their press conference yesterday, which essentially entailed a budget-friendly RTX card, which is the new kind of card that they've been introducing over the past few months. But overall, AMD, without a doubt, took the show because now they are a contender. Now it makes sense for them to come out and offer this kind of card because now AMD is becoming a legitimate, option for people that want the best of the best. Now, AMD has always been a pretty good option, but now it's legitimately competing with NVIDIA. And that's an awesome thing to see. Now, if you did want to pick up one, again, it's coming out February the 7th for $700, and you get 3 free games. And who doesn't like some freebies? Because I know that I do. Speaking of freebies, Nintendo reveals Switch Online's January games, which include The Legend of Zelda 2 and Blaster Master. Nintendo's paid online for Switch comes with the NES games added to the library every month. What a strange way to start that article off. Let's try that again. Nintendo's paid online program, Nintendo's paid online subscription service, whatever you want to call it, but Nintendo's paid online for Switch comes with NES games added to the library every month, but January is the first month that Nintendo had not already announced the games yet. Thus, weird wording here, but thus today's announcement of The Legend of Zelda 2, Adventure of Link, and Blaster Master are the first unrevealed NES games since the paid online launch in September. It is definitely an interesting choice to the point where I wonder, the author says, if Nintendo intentionally themed the two games together. Both Zelda 2 and Blaster Master switch between top-down and side-scrolling sections as their main gimmicks, and both are known as fairly difficult games, so they are not going to be a walk in the park. Oddly, the Japanese Switch Online service is also getting Joy Mag Fight, a Japanese-only NES release starring Sukapon, which Americans might know as a Smash Bros. Assist trophy. This is odd, mostly because the game isn't replaced in other regions with a different game. Japan just gets 3, while America gets 2. Usually, Nintendo also puts out surprise releases on the day games get uploaded, though, but it has always been an edited version of an existing game on the service. And so, if you are into the Nintendo Switch and you have a subscription to Nintendo Switch Online, then you get 2 free games if you are in America for the month of January, and those are The Legend of Zelda 2 and Blaster Master. Now, as somebody who does not have any skin in the game, I do not care either way about either of these games, but I know that the NES lineup is definitely a good one to have on the Nintendo Switch, even if it is not fleshed out. Hopefully, as the years roll on, more good quality games are going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch Online service. But right now, you can get these, and again, they're not that bad, and they're free. Sort of, if you really want to butter your bread with it and say that you're paying for a service and with that payment you get free games, sure, why not? But technically they're all included. I digress. That's today's show. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and if you did, and you're in Twitch chat, I appreciate you hanging out, having a conversation, putting in your 2 cents in the Twitch chat. But overall, if you are watching the podcast on YouTube, I appreciate you as well. And to my audio listeners, thank you so much. And if you could, head over to Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, wherever you might get your podcast, and leave me a rating, because it genuinely does help. Now, before we do conclude today's show, I do want to remind you that there is not going to be any kind of episode on Thursdays going forward until at least June-ish, because, quite frankly, I have classes. And tomorrow night at this time, I'll be watching an American movie from the 1970s. That's the class I signed up for. I'm not even kidding. But there is going to be an episode on Saturdays now to make up for that, the Caffeinate Weekend Update. What does that entail? It's literally the same thing, but instead of being Monday through Friday, it's now on Saturday. Ooh. So I will see you on Friday for a brand new episode of Caffeinate, and until then, y'all have a good one now. Because I'm from North Carolina, peace.